Children of the Corn freaked me the fuck out when I was a
Yeah,
kid.
we had a lot of corn by us. That's why.
Also,
Fucking
like when they
terrifying.
stick somebody's hand in a blender or something.
That
I was like, what the fuck?
all those creepy ass kids living in the
Yeah.
corn.
And we lived in corn. Like we
Yeah.
lived inside of corn. So
Yeah.
it's the podcast that Scheming Serpent warned you about.
Welcome to Biting All the Apples, where two gals discuss one radical book.
The best-selling critical and comedic masterpiece from 1895, The Women's Bible by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I'm Sara Kaye.
I'm Joanna V.
Today we are coming at you with the Book of Esther. Don't let the senior center name fool you. This is another Throne Wars book in the Bible, and it is full of salaciousness, sin, and slaughter.
Ooh, that was some alliteration.
You're welcome. We get to see women defying king's orders and learn the story behind the Feast of Purim.
Which still goes on today.
We should have one.
I don't think so.
We'll go over the brilliant Victorian feminist response, meet a new contributor to the Women's Bible, and as always, discuss how eerily relevant it all is to the American kingdom in 2025.
So sad.
And because of these times, we have to cover our rears with some disclaimers.
That is
Get to
no
it.
joke. Biting All the Apples covers the analysis of religious texts. Some listeners that are religious out of the need for the illusion of certainty may find this content offensive. Biting All the Apples also discusses historic texts and feminist movements. We recognize that individuals, groups, and alternative movements have been left out of the mainstream history. We will note that whenever possible. We are open to additional information provided to us in the spirit of expanding knowledge.
Catch the spirit.
Of expanding your knowledge. Every day.
I know.
Always expanding.
We are trying to make that a trend, but it seems like there's a lot of contraction.
Yeah, it seems like people are trying to
Yeah.
not expand any knowledge.
Right. They're like
taking the knowledge.
They're like, forget what you
They're like,
learned
burn that knowledge.
from history. Yeah.
Burn those books.
Right.
They're scary.
What's going on right now is there's like limited knowledge, people trying to pass their knowledge off like it's the knowledge.
Yeah. And you have to, take it without a fight is what they hope. But I think there's a lot of fight left in America.
There's a lot of fight left in America.
Look at LA.
Yeah, that's what's going on right now.
LA is making me proud.
We are in the week of June 9th. This when we're recording this.
Yes.
Our episodes would be timeless. So I thought I'd just place us in history somewhere.
June 9th, 2025.
And shit's a little crazy.
It's gone crazy. Yeah, they're just like, American citizens are being detained and arrested and thrown to the ground. Crazy.
It's crazy.
It's weird and wild that there are, people in the streets opposing this.
Yeah.
Peacefully, by the way. And joyfully.
It's kind of like there is a tantrum. Is it tantameric? I was trying to make up a word for describing a king that throws a tantrum.
Oh.
But it's so fitting because we're going to talk about this Book of Esther.
Yeah.
And it is all about a whiny baby king.
Yeah. Little babies having tantrums. I did enjoy that this week, though, the little tantrum fight on the social medias of our two baby kings.
Oh, you mean...
Yeah, the
awesome,
Elon Trumpy thing, that was great.
What's awesome is this pretty big news, and I've already forgotten because there's Marines going to Los Angeles.
That's true.
So
and the National Guard's already there. 2,000 National Guards sleeping on the floor for no reason, apparently, but for show.
So by the time this comes out, it will be like, I don't know.
Well,
I keep on making promises where I'm like, this will be after. Don't worry about it.
Honestly,
we're just stick with the books of the Bible.
Crazy stuff could happen in the next hour.
I know.
We have not listened to.
We haven't listened to we haven't checked it on the news for about 2 hours. So
who knows?
But this is not a newsy podcast per se. So
no,
you come to us so we can tell you that if we just drop the Bible, we could probably get rid of all of the world's problems.
We could progress, we could move on.
Did I say drop? I know people are not going to like that. Just a revision.
Revision, or maybe
an update.
But actually, it has to be a little school of thought.
Right. A little nip and tuck.
Nip and tuck.
Yeah. I love that show, by the way.
Oh.
Did you watch it?
I did not, but I know
it's filthy.
Oh, you love that filthy stuff.
I love those filthy TV shows.
Oh, but yeah, it's been crazy. It's been crazy, but it is summer, so it's nice.
Even though it's been cold here, I like to do a weather report.
Yeah.
But I think it's because we have a mad king blocking the sun.
He's blocking the sun.
He's blocking the sun.
Blocking all the happiness.
And I have here, so it feels like the start of summer. That's how I talk now. I have a new accent.
I like it.
But school's out for the summer.
School's out for summer. See, Alice Cooper. I love him. Alice Cooper
kills.
would be a guest. He's a Detroiter. I love Alice Cooper.
Totally invited.
He's got a podcast.
He does?
Yeah, he does. Well, I feel like he's got a music show, but he talks a lot, and he's fantastic.
I gotta check that out.
Love that man. You should. He's a great man.
I bet he'd want us to be on his show.
He would.
Easily. Yeah. We're still waiting to hear back from the Pope, but we'll reach out to Alice.
So anyways, Alice Cooper, first tape I ever bought. Alice Cooper's Greatest Hits. Thank you very much.
I'm so impressed.
Connections.
You know what I love is when people I know get even cooler.
Thank you.
Like, that's pretty cool. So yeah, we have a Mad King blocking the sun. So it's been a little cooler here. I think that all ties in.
To the Book of Esther.
I was going to ask you, so it's the start of summer, you're out of school, you're going to go teacher crazy.
Yeah.
You just got all this freedom. What are your predictions for summer 2025? Or is that should we not even do that?
So I've stopped making predictions because, I'm trying to be positive. And
well, you can make positive predictions.
I don't have a lot of positivity within my realm. So, except for it is summer, and I'm going to try and focus on my peeps.
Yeah, focus on your peeps.
Small, keep it small. My prediction is we should all get closer to our communities.
Okay, we're going to see a little more community hunkering down, building, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
I was
protesting locally.
The only prediction that I feel good about making, but this is also if we're all still around and baseball is still a thing. But I do think the Tigers are on track. We're going to see.
The Cubs just beat them. What are you talking about?
Like once.
On the home turf.
Come on.
All right.
Who cares about the Cubs? Come at me.
Come at me. That's a good prediction, though. I like
it.
It
is. I think we'll see some Tigers playing hard. I don't even know. You can tell. I'm such a good sports person. I'm like, you're going to see some Tigers hitting some balls.
They're going to hit some home runners.
And I think it's really going to bring Michigan together.
I hope so.
It could fix everything.
Yeah, I thought the Lions would do it, and then that fell apart. But I'm still sporting them.
Look, you're like, I can't be positive.
I'm trying not to. I actually cried, and I was like, I don't cry at sports. The world must be a mess.
Yeah,
if I'm crying because my football team lost.
It'll happen.
The world's turned upside down. Yeah.
If you've ever been in an area where the sports team is doing well, it's insane.
It's
great.
Grips
everybody, and there's this thread of excitement and hope that connects total strangers.
It is. It does.
But that should show you that, yeah, things can happen where all of a sudden huge groups of people can get stoked about a thing. So let's just keep that in mind.
I'd like them to get stoked about
human rights.
Human rights.
Human rights.
Oh my gosh,
I'm rooting for them. You know what? Here's an idea. Human rights. They don't have a team color.
Maybe that's something we could arrange.
Do you know what I'm saying? They don't. We need a superstar. We need a Aiden Hutchinson. We need a something. Why did I say a guy? But I was thinking sports.
Yeah,
we need a Simone Biles.
Simone Biles. Come out.
Oh my gosh. Simone, you can come on our show. Simone. We also need you know what I mean?
We need solidarity.
Mascots. We need marketing.
Yeah.
Human rights, gonna be hot.
I like that.
2025.
Oh my gosh. Can we bring it? Let's bring back human rights.
Let's do it.
Instead of just stomping on them and watching some real depressing shit happen in the world. It is mind-boggling. But when I read the Book of Esther, I'm like, it's just human nature, I guess.
It's not just human nature. If something's just written, look, I'm getting mad. I was like, no.
Don't yell at me.
So, yes, human rights. Let's talk about the Book of Esther.
Book of Esther, talking about women. Again, we're pulling women. But yeah, Book of Esther. Let me give you a little rundown. Can I give a little rundown? 100 years after the Babylonian exile of Israelites from their land of Jerusalem, Jewish settlement in Susa, which is a Persian capital, is where all of Esther takes place. And Persia today is modern-day Iran, Egypt, Turkey, parts of Afghanistan and Pakistan, which are still very relevant places, right? I like those places.
They're on the map.
They're on the map.
They're on the map.
And we have a whole host of people, but mostly this lovely king. Say his name. Say his name.
Right. Say his name.
Say his name. Say his name.
Ahasuerus. It's like there's an A in front, but it's like Ahasuerus.
Yeah.
Ahasuerus.
He sat upon the throne of Shushan.
These are fabulous names.
Aren't they names? I like it.
Yeah, the major players in this Book of Esther are Esther, King Ahasuerus, Mordecai.
My favorite, Vashti.
Vashti. Oh, she's good.
I wish I would have named my daughter Vashti.
Yeah.
Now that I've read this.
And then Haman. And really, in the Women's Bible, they pick only 2 passages or 2 chunks from the Book of Esther.
Yeah, they're pretty good ones, too.
There's a lot there. The first one starts off talking about a great party.
Yeah, it sounds like, all the king did was party. I mean,
like why else become a king?
He was like just drinking and partying and having all these people over.
So in Esther, this is Esther 1, 2 through 22. See, that I can deal with. Roman numerals. I'm like, I got that. That's a 1.
that's a little...
1, people. But he has like this huge feast, and he has all his princes and all the people with him. But I love the description where it says, where were white, green, and blue hangings fastened with cords of fine linen and purple, the silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon pavement of red and blue. And it goes on. And you're like, geez, Pete. And it was Vashti that helped get this party rocking.
Well, yeah, but she stayed inside.
But she set it all up, made it happen.
Yeah.
And then let the men party. Yeah. This is giving very much Midwestern Thanksgiving vibes.
You're right.
You know what I mean?
You're right.
Yeah.
The men just sit and eat.
Yeah. They're like, we'll take care of everything else.
They'll cook the turkey.
So they get lit, They're drinking.
7 days of drinking. Can you imagine?
7 days.
Sounds like a P. Diddy freak out.
So you better not. You better not. No.
That's all I thought about while I was reading this. I was like, this king and P. Diddy.
Yeah.
They would have popped it off.
Yeah.
Together.
Who knows? I haven't been paying attention to that trial. Maybe they asked him about the Book of Esther.
They should in court. They should.
This is like, what? And so they're getting all wasted. 7 days of drinking. I love the Old Testament. They're like, everything's 7 or 40.
Yeah, what is
7?
What is that? I was going to look that up.
It's such a great number.
I know.
It's a spiritual number.
There's a great Prince song, and I love it. It's like, all 7 and we watch them fall. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways.
So the king is like...
He's having a party.
And then, it's winding down. They've entertained themselves and gotten drunk for like 7 days. And the king is like, let's get that sweet, sweet face of Vashti. Bring her in.
My hot, hot wife.
We want to oogle her.
Guys, you want to see my wife?
Yeah.
Put that crown on her.
That's right. And he insists, he's like, get this crown on.
You're going to look so much hotter. as in smoking.
Yeah. And Vashti is like, I'm not doing that shit.
No, you've been drinking for 7 days.
Yeah. You've been drinking.
I've seen that.
I haven't seen you. The garbage is still here. You haven't taken out the trash. I'm not going.
You left all your food drop. Look at those chicken bones. Did they eat chicken? I don't know.
Yeah, I wish there was more details. I just know of their
like
beds of gold and silver.
Fine linen.
And then the king is like, oh, what? And he gets so teed off that he makes a declaration about how husbands are always in control of the women, that women must, or their wives must honor them.
Well, I think it was like peer pressure because like all the people, for unless Vashti was severely punished,
Oh, yeah.
this guy said all the women of Medea and Persia would despise the commands of their husbands. If you let this slide, you're going to ruin it for all of us.
That is
Annoying.
handbook or textbook like mob rules.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, man, you can't let that person disrespect you.
Yeah.
Because then they won't think you're the leader. I mean, this is classic.
Right?
This is classic. But Vashti was like, do whatever you want. Make all the decrees you want. I'm my own person. And you can imagine that the Victorian feminists, and we have Elizabeth Cady Stanton and also a new contributor talking about how cool Vashti is.
Yeah, she is pretty cool. So they actually go back. They say, we have some grand types of women presented for our admiration in the Bible. She brings up Deborah again for courage and military prowess, Huldah for her smarts, her learning, prophetic insight and statesmanship, seated in the College of Jerusalem, and Vashti, who scorned the apostles' command, wives, obey your husbands. She refused the king's order to grace with her presence his reveling court. And even because she's so badass, Tennyson wrote a poem.
I know.
And I love it.
It's called The Princess.
Of course it is.
Did you read the whole thing? I'll have to put the link to it in the show notes.
No, I just read the little quote.
It's kind
they
of
gave.
long.
Well, the quote is good.
Yeah,
I love
read
it.
the quote. Read the quote.
Well, oh, Vashti, noble Vashti, summoned forth, she kept her state and left the drunken king to brawl in Shushan underneath his palms.
Ooh.
See, just respect for this poet.
Look at that.
Seeing
Is
her-
like some old timey.
Yeah.
Those words are. I
And
just got
Tennyson-
lost in the. Are you a
Tennyson-
Tennyson fan? Do you
Well,
know?
no, I just
What do you
thought-
know about this dude?
Well, I liked that he was relevant of the time, and they're like, look, even Tennyson, Lord Tennyson, saw the awesomeness of Vashti and threw it in the book. I love it
because
he was of that time.
and previously in the books where we've seen women defy orders or go against, it hasn't been as kind of self-empowered
Yeah, this
as
is
this, because
self-evident.
usually we've seen women defying orders, but for the greater good.
Yeah, no, this was just like, dude, you've been drinking for 7 days. I've seen that movie, and I don't want to be a part of it.
Yeah, she's like, it doesn't look like that fun.
Doesn't look like fun, and I know what you're like, and I know what your friends are like, and I just had a party myself inside with some
right.
lovely people,
That's right.
and we clean up after ourselves.
That's right.
Okay, that was a little creative liberty,
I
but
know.
that's how
That's
I
how I
envision-
imagine Vashti.
Yeah,
After reading The Princess by Tennyson. So
and then apparently she just disappears. They don't write about her anymore because
that is the weirdest thing. So
because he banishes her, obviously, because
and
of
they
the peer
just
pressure.
use her again as a plot device so they can show like how powerful kings are. To me, I'm like, he seems like such a whiny baby. He's like, you wouldn't come out. Well, I'm going to make a new law.
I told
It
you you were
reminds
pretty.
me- It reminds me of, I don't know, someone that's in charge of the entire country, but I don't know.
And who thinks he's in charge of the world?
Right. It's like
Gross.
the vindictiveness, but it is all about him trying to set an example.
Yeah.
But-
Vashti is conspicuous as the first woman recorded whose self-respect and courage enabled her to act contrary to the will of her husband. She was the first, quote unquote, woman who dared. I dare you
Ooh, I love
to
that.
disobey me. She's like, yeah, see ya. I am pretty.
I know.
I'll find another.
So he sent 7 different messages to Vashti, the king did, to put on her royal crown, which greatly enhanced her beauty, and come to show his guests the majesty of his queen. But to all the chamberlains alike, she said, go tell the king I will not come. Dignity and modesty alike forbid.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she was like, I don't know. I'm not going in a room full of drunk dudes. Is this a freak off? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What am I?
I know. I also think that it is so interesting how the king has to make laws that are like, you know, all women or all wives must obey their husbands.
Yeah.
And does that not go against like the idea of like, it's like God is supposed to be in charge. So why are you trying to do like ruling over other people?
Yeah. Are you trying to make yourself God?
Yeah. Right? Or is that a thing? But I mean, I know, well, I've seen it, especially in evangelical Christianity and stuff. They are really hitting hard on that. Like the man is the ruler of the house, but that goes against
they're
the
trying
natural
to
order of things.
They're trying to bring it back. They're trying to bring this
but you have to
false idea back.
But you have to force it because the truth is we are all Vashtis. We are our own people.
Yeah, we have our own thoughts.
We have our own thoughts.
Yeah, I like actually LBC, Lucinda.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you about her too. What do you think?
Well, I just like she's like the king was but a forerunner of the more modern lawmaker.
Ooh, that's what I'm talking about.
All right, who seeks the same end of male rulership by making the wife and all property the possession of the husband. That every living soul has an inherent right to control its life and activities, and that women equally with a man should enjoy this opportunity had not dawned upon the consciousness of the men of the times of King Ahasuerus. Ahasuerus.
Yeah.
Except for Vashti.
Except for Vashti.
Lucinda.
Okay, so let me tell you.
Yeah, go
Or
ahead.
did you look her up?
Well, I went to look her up. I couldn't find much, but because she was a contributor.
Yeah. I got some crap.
But I ended up in my deep dive. I couldn't find much about her, but I saw that she was friends with Stanton, obviously. But it came up. I ended up with a Stanton quote because I thought it was good.
Well, hold on one sec. So we're talking about Lucinda Bannister Chandler, LBC. She's a new contributor. And
she was pious, is what I read. And I was like, it's so weird because I feel like a pious person would not participate in the making of the Women's Bible.
Well,
That's how I felt.
That was really cool that they had somebody that was pious because she wrote a lot. I mean, she was definitely a social reformer and a feminist, but she was really she did that work centered on Christianity.
Yeah.
And she was pious, and she was she was like temperance.
Temperance. Yes.
Look, I can't even think of it.
No drinking, yeah.
And so she wrote essays called like A Mother's Aid, The Divineness of Marriage, and Children's Rights. And so she was really into the idea of the brotherhood of man as a practical and controlling principle in commercial and industrial systems. So she really was based in this idea of Christianity. In her other book that she wrote, her work, Motherhood, Its Power Over Human Destiny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is, so
I
back
found
to
her
what
an
you're
interesting
saying,
character.
it's very interesting. And then you can also see in her responses, you can kind of tell that she is much more pious than the other contributors. But it's cool they had somebody.
But I was actually confused because when I read that, I was like, but what she's saying is like, I wouldn't equate that with someone, like, obviously she seemed very religious and very like following the rules. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, do I have the right person?
I know.
Right? That's what I was like, is there a difference? Because I was just going by LBC and I was like literally Googling. I was like, LBC Women's Bible, Stanton. And I was like, maybe it's the wrong person, but it was her.
It makes me want to read her writing to see how she balances those because so she's a feminist and she's like activist for reproductive rights and stuff where I'm like,
which makes sense. If you're a feminist, you should.
And then in her response about Esther, you can see that she really loves the idea of talking about, self-respect and individual sovereignty.
Well, she even gave props to Vashti. She said Vashti
Exactly.
stands out as a sublime representative of self-centered womanhood.
Yeah, man.
Which maybe some people are like, well, yeah, you shouldn't be self-centered. You're a woman. You should be selfless, right? Rising to the heights of self-consciousness and of self-respect, she takes her soul into her own keeping. And though her position both as wife and as queen are jeopardized, she is true to the divine aspirations of her nature. So she's like, yes, girl.
Takes her soul into her, what was that line? That's gorgeous.
Yeah, takes her soul into her own keeping. She's
Take
like,
your soul into your own keeping.
We've talked about women trusting their instincts and not being able to in the Bible. Remember, you've talked about this?
Yeah.
And you have to be like, oh, it was an angel. Instead of, no, I'm not coming out there to show my face to your drunken buddies.
But also, let's look what happened to the woman that trusted her soul, she just like disappears out of the story.
I know. They're like,
she got disappeared.
And she was banished, and we won't. But I am curious she probably did great things. She probably took over a land somewhere.
What if there's a lost book that explains what happens to Vashti? We got to find out what happens
The
to her
Lost
because
Book
she's
of
really
Vashti.
cool.
Yeah, she is.
So I think that's really interesting about that contributor, Lucinda Bannister Chandler.
Yeah, I thought that
but
was
I want to read her work to see.
Yeah, well, because I was looking at
motherhood,
her and I was like,
the power over human destiny. So is she combining that idea of, like self-sovereignty actually being powerful within the traditional Christian marriage?
I would imagine. I mean, obviously she was, she loved the religion. So I'm sure she wanted to bring the best out of it.
Oh, look, my notes. I had the word temperance written down. I just needed
temperance.
to see. So, yeah, she's a lifelong advocate of the total abstinence principle. Yeah. Served as vice president of the Women's Christian Temperance Alliance of Illinois.
Yeah, see, that's why I was like...
Chicago, she was the president of the Chicago Moral Education Society. Yeah, so when you read it, you're like, she sounds like not that fun.
That's what I thought. That's why I was like, that's why I was reading it. I'm like, this can't be the same lady.
This is why I'm like, it's cool. It is cool. To have different
Think
voices.
about it. They invited 20, 30 women to work on this. So I'm sure that there were lots of, just us getting together, with our little four, we learn from one another.
I know.
And these wonderful women.
I told you, human brains, when they get together, it's like you're plugging into another data center. Supercomputers. Actually, are we computers right now? We don't know that. We don't want to talk about AI because it freaks
It's a little bit scary. I just listened to a very scary podcast.
You are listening to two real life
We are real people.
Yeah, as far as I know.
I mean, I have no other experience other than being real and feeling pain. And now that I'm 50, it's when I get up. I got to work it out.
Yeah, you're like, I've been sitting for 5 minutes.
Lord.
So
Vashti's gone.
Oh, wait, I didn't let you read your list. I didn't say let you, but did you have
this is a great quote. So when I was looking up this lady, I was like, oh my God, go lady. And Matilda came back into, I want to fully go into Matilda someday too.
Yes.
But
get into her.
So in 1890, she, Elizabeth won to be president of the women's suffrage, but she was like, I don't really want to do that. So she just let Susan B. Anthony do it. She went to Europe. And when she was there for 2 years, she met with the suffragists there. And this lady, Helen Bright Clark, was like, hey, Stanton, don't you think that your liberal views are shocking to some people, in attendance? And Stanton replied.
Oh, I can't wait.
Well, if we who do see the absurdities of the old superstitions never unveil them to others, how is the world going to make any progress in the theologies? I am in the sunset of life, and I feel it to be my special mission to tell people what they are not prepared to hear.
I am speechless.
I love her. Yeah, and I think she would love us.
That is fresh.
Powerful, right?
That's fresh. That's powerful. That's so Vashti.
She's like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, they need to hear it.
Yeah.
Here I am, Lord.
Yes. I love that because I don't know why it popped in my head. Well, it's not completely random. But when talking about stuff like, we need a female president or a gay president, I cannot stand when you hear that line.
Yeah.
I don't think people are ready.
I don't think they're ready.
I bet they're not.
I bet they're not, but they better be.
Get ready. Buckle up.
Buckle up, buttercup.
Yeah, time to get ready.
Yeah.
Stretch your hamstrings.
She's like...
Or whatever. What do people do to get ready? You do somatic... Like we did. We do somatic exercises, somatic shaking. I highly recommend it.
I do too, actually. That was my first time. I'll be a somatic shaker from now on.
I hope that's what it's called. I'm a somatic shaker.
If not, we could just start a new thing.
Yeah.
Start our own little thing.
We won't.
But yeah, that was my quote. I thought that was fantastic.
It's fantastic.
I feel like,
it's spectacular.
Yeah. If you're not ready, get ready.
It is true. Yeah.
So sorry. So sorry you're shocked.
So sorry.
It was time that you enlighten your mind.
That was Elizabeth saying, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah, bless your heart.
Bless
sorry
your heart.
you feel that way. Okay. So moving on to the second chunk, even though I'm trying to think. So LBC, she had a lot, but you read some of her great stuff that she said.
Oh, she did. Yeah.
Lucinda Bannister Chandler.
Oh, and this does make sense that she is the temperance one. She said, the vanity of a drunken man illustrates the truth of an old proverb. When the wine is in, the wit is out. And so, I liked that.
When the wine is...
No, but all the men wanted Vashti severely punished because they didn't want their wives not listening to them.
That is so modern, too, because if there is any cracks in the patriarchal order, that is when, people completely freak out. Yeah, and they're like, you cannot let, if your woman does that, that's going to be shitty for the rest of us.
Yeah. Yeah, so you better get her in line.
And you'll see people freak out about the reinforcement of gender rules far more than they freak out about like putting children in handcuffs. So weird. But it shows you how much everything rests on that order and that myth that men tell everybody else what to do, which is why Vashti not coming back into the party is way huge to them.
Yeah.
They're like, you're breaking. It's almost like telling them that God doesn't exist.
Yeah, they're like, whoa.
Yeah,
she said no to you.
Exactly.
You better get your drunk butt up and punish her severely.
So even that tidbit, I'm like, it is such a powerful story. It's nuts. It's nuts. And what happens in the Book of Esther, so the next section they have all the king's horses and friends.
All the king's men.
They tell him, they're like, all right, Vashti, she's out of here. Good job. You restored the order. And then they're like, you should go round up some babelicious virgins.
Get them all. Get all the virgins.
And it is true.
Like it's just a thing you can do in the Bible. Just like kings can just like whip up some virgins.
This is why I can't believe that this book is not banned.
I know.
Quite frankly. This says, then said his servants, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king, and let him appoint officers in all the province that they may gather together.
They put them in bags. Have you seen Shut up. Have you seen the movie?
I'm in the middle of a Bible verse.
Have you ever seen the old movie 7 Brides for Seven Brothers? And they literally they
bag them?
They bag them and they take the women. Yeah. It's pretty funny. It's a great movie.
Seen some of that? I think maybe somebody did like a video essay about, do you remember in movies maybe in like the 60s and 70s, women were always like tied up and gagged, even in just like a general like Western.
Yeah, I believe it. I've seen some
and looking
things.
Back, you're
watch
like,
a lot of Turner Classic Movies at my parents'.
Yeah, and
I'm like,
and they're always like struggling out of it and like shaking. And you're like, what kind of weird bag up the virgins?
Well, they read it in the Bible.
I'm like,
gather them up.
God. So they go and they're like, let's get some of these babes. They're like, the best way, King Azra, the best way to get over somebody is to get under 1,000 virgins. Yeah, right. That's what he said.
That's a direct quote from the Bible.
That's an old proverb.
That's an old proverb by Sarah Kaye.
And so there just so happens to be a really hot babe she's already on the premise.
Well, Mordecai was there.
Mordecai.
And he brought her.
His cousin. He brings his cousin.
It's not his
Esther.
cousin. It's his uncle's daughter.
Wouldn't that be his cousin?
Well, he just took her as his own daughter because you could just do that because he was a man. He'd be like, you're my daughter. She didn't have a mother or father. She was fair and beautiful. And when her father and mother were dead, he just took her.
Gotcha. Sorry.
She's like, you're not a cousin. You're my daughter. He actually, it does say in there, he wanted to marry her.
Yeah, because she was fair of face.
Which is another, connection to Trump, He likes to, thinks he'd like to bang his daughter.
And Mordecai and Esther, do you like I just go over, I'm like.
You're like, that's an old one.
Of course he does. That's so.
Anyway.
So Mordecai and Esther are Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I whisper that because the king is, what is he, Persian?
He's Persian.
Is that
he wanted a Persian
history
wife.
Stuff.
She was supposed to be a Persian extraction to become a queen.
Right. But Mordecai's like, listen, Esther, don't tell the king that you're Jewish.
Yeah.
And then, so the king makes a great feast, Esther's feast, and he made a release to the provinces, gave gifts, blah, blah. So he meets up with Esther, and that's really the only other clip that that they use from the Book of Esther. What happens after that is the great, I'm always talking about like the throne games story. And I'll just tell you, did you know, because you watched that thing, what happens is Mordecai finds out that Haman is going he's like, I'm going to kill all the Jews. And then Mordecai tells Esther, it's like, man, you should tell the king.
You got to help us.
Yeah.
Help our people.
So Esther like saves everybody.
Because the king really likes her.
And then what the tidbit that I thought was, I didn't know, is the Feast of Purim.
Yeah.
Or Purim is named after, so Pur, or Pur, I don't know how to say it, is the name for dice.
Yes.
And Haman, is that, did I get that? Yeah.
I think it's Haman.
Anyways, he was like, I'm going to kill all the Jews and I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to roll the dice, find out what day it is.
And that's the day we're going to do it.
I mean,
January 6th.
Have some class.
Yeah, I know.
Have some class. And so that goes on, but then they do a flippy dippy, and then Mordecai and Esther end up living and saving everybody. But Esther's super brave.
Yeah.
Because she was like, I'm going to tell the king that I'm Jewish and that I need him to save the people.
Because she knew he loved him.
I can't believe I almost forgot. I was like, that's actually the key of the whole thing.
Well, yeah, because
go ahead.
She knew that he loved her, but also Mordecai was like, Esther, this guy hates me. He wants to kill me, but he wants to kill all of our people.
Yeah.
You got to step in. This is your moment. And she stood up to the task.
I thought that Mordecai was like, don't tell him you're Jewish. She was like, I'm going to do it. And she says, if I perish, I perish.
Yeah.
And she's like,
if he
please quote me, because that's badass.
Yeah, it is, right?
Yeah. She was like, oh my God.
I got to do this.
Oh
I have to do this because he's not going to kill all these people.
Yeah. I can't believe, you know what? I'm going to say it right now. Even though there's not a lot of clips in here, but I think the Book of Esther is my favorite.
It's really good. I mean, you got Vashti, who's badass, and Esther, who's also badass.
It's totally
They
good.
both are self-respecting.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good.
It's good for women.
Right. What I'm going to do after we're done with the Old Testament is rank the books. Like I always look up, like I always rank seasons of The Walking Dead. You know what I mean?
No, but yes.
I'm like season 1, season 4, top, like you go. So I'm going to do that with the Old Testament.
Books.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
But I'd put Esther up at the top.
It's one of my favorites.
Super into,
for women empowerment.
Yeah. And then story-wise, these last couple books that we've read, like what do we do, Samuel and Kings, it's
legit
great.
Soap opera.
Great. It's great.
It's like soap opera
it's
material.
So good.
It's full of, and I didn't realize it doesn't get into it here, but that party at the King's place, there was some stuff going on.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah.
Come on.
I know.
I know that there is a detailed version of that party.
Yeah.
That 7-day party.
It just sends the imagination. So that's what happens. And we have some,
yeah.
I go, so that's what happens.
But
ECS. I'm such a good analyst.
I like that ECS says Esther profited by the example of Vashti, and she knew that it was good policy to make a show of obedience in all things. Like, she's like, ooh, she had this really powerful woman before her. Mm-hmm. She watched what happened to her. She got banished. She's like, I'm going to use that, and I will obey to a certain extent, right?
Yes. That's
so I
so
like that.
Womanly, because we're like, we don't need to learn a lesson many times.
No, one time.
One time,
ooh,
saw that.
They did not like that.
Yep. Here's the diamond thing. So this is Elizabeth. Esther was a Jewish, one of the children of captivity, an orphan who Mordecai adopted his own child. She was beautiful, symmetrical in form, fair in face, and of rare intelligence. Her wisdom and virtue, her greatest gifts. Quote, it is an advantage to a diamond even to be well set. And she has quotes around that. And I love these Victorian ladies because I'm like, was this like one of, the Proverbs and where'd it come from?
Yeah.
And why don't we say that anymore?
Yeah. It is
I'm gonna start throwing that
to a diamond even to be well set. So, you could be a diamond on the floor, but if you're not with a king, what are you?
Ooh, don't be a diamond on the floor.
Don't be a diamond on the floor. Get well set.
That's
Get well set.
I love it.
Why is it in quotes?
I don't know. But this is why, I imagine hanging with Elizabeth, she'd be like, you know who I'm quoting. It's like somebody you're supposed to know. I love it. I love it.
Well, she hung out with all those artsy,
super sassy,
artsy-fartsy people.
I dig it. So
Well, you were talking about Purim, right?
Yes.
So I think that's an important thing because that is still around. It's a Persian word. It's not only a holy day feast, but of human appointment. It is celebrated at the present time, 1895 is what they're talking about.
Right.
And also now today. And in the service, the whole story is told at Purim. So they tell this whole Esther story.
I love
so it's like celebrate these women, I think. I mean,
really, I want to go. I wonder.
But listen, it is regretted that this feast often ends in gluttony.
Why is that regretted?
I don't know.
Oh.
They regret it. It is to be
If you're going to
regretted.
do it, and is it 7 days? They should do it for 7 days. But did you see this part? I love it. So
it's just before Passover, and they recount the story.
it says, in the feast of Purim, a man may drink until he knows not the difference between cursed be Haman and blessed be Mordecai. That cracks me up.
So it's a party.
Yeah.
It's a party. You can drink like the king.
I'm dying to see what Lucinda has to say about that. Does she even talk about the drinking in her response?
She talks about, this is where I'm like, oh, what does she think? Because it feels like she has a little animosity towards the Jewish holiday and this service. And then
it's so boozy.
And I didn't get this quote because I'm like, do they really say that? It says, there's one thing in the Jewish service worse than this celebration, this Purim, and that is for each man to stand up in the synagogue every Sabbath morning and say, quote, I thank thee, O Lord, that I was not born a woman, quote, as if that were the depth of human degradation. It is to be feared that the Thanksgiving feast of Purim has degenerated in many localities into the same kind of gathering as the Irish wake, which is a lot of drinking. So a little temperance. And
I know. That's why I'm like, she's not going to dig this.
Slamming on that. On the drinking.
But I have the last paragraph that I wanted to read as kind of our
ECS
of LBC. As we kind of wrap this up because we're
the last that's a good one.
Is that all right?
Hold on.
Yeah, that's what
I was
giving you a warning. I was like, Joanna, if you got something to say, star it up.
And this is my LBC that I went looking for because of this. So she was sad that there was no further record of Vashti because she was like, she was pretty awesome.
What the heck?
The king in those days had the advantage of the search for fair young virgins in that he could command the entire collection within his dominions. The only consideration was whether or not the maiden pleased him. There is no hint that the maiden was expected to signify her acceptance or rejection of the king's choice. She was no more to be consulted than if she had been an animal. Her position as queen was just but an added distinction of her lord and master. So even if you were a chosen one, it still sucked to be a woman.
Yeah.
You could be a queen, great, didn't mean anything.
Right. But you could also just get banished for not following orders.
You should be Vashti.
So you are not, you actually do not have power.
And if you weren't fair and beautiful, I guess you were just screwed all the time.
Yeah.
Except if you were Ruth and you worked hard.
Ruth! What's up? Still thinking about you, Ruth, but Esther. Okay, final thing. This is from Lucinda Chandler. Women as queenly, as noble, and as self-sacrificing as was Esther, as self-respecting and as brave as was Vashti, are hampered in their creative office by the unjust statutes of men. But God is marching on, and it is the seed of woman which is to bruise the head of the serpent. It is not man's boasted superiority of intellect through which the eternally working divine power will perfect the race, but the receptiveness and the love of women. And isn't that, I know, and then I'm like, it makes so much sense when you know who Lucinda is, because that must be what her writing's about. And I have not seen women, that kind of feminist writing that is more about the love of
and the
women.
Our divine power.
It's
the divine
gorgeous.
Power of women.
It's gorgeous. I recommend everybody just kind of check out.
And think about the
Lucinda.
love fest that they were doing when they were writing this, because I feel like them being in that congregation of women that are all working towards that same purpose must have been it must have been, they must have had so much hope and so much optimism for the future being around. But then, of course, if they were alive now, they'd be like, well, look at these two ladies. They're
I imagine them being so much hope, but also, so it's hope, but the fire of, the fury fire
Fury fire. Yeah.
Because Elizabeth, as you quoted earlier, she's a little ticked. So
Yeah, as she should be. Yeah, because men are still trying to do that, and it's making a comeback.
Making a comeback.
It was going away. Well, we were talking earlier, 1 step forward.
20 million steps back. I'm kidding.
50 steps back.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of feels like that right now.
Well, I found the Book of Esther fabulous. I hope
did too.
Everybody else did too.
There was nothing awful in it. I mean, except for the
Well, I mean, it's
drunk
awful,
men,
but it's
like the women take over.
Yeah, the women's portion of it is great. So that's it for this week.
Yay!
I know, I'm like, yay!
Episode
Now, in
2.
our next episode, and I always we were kind of joking.
Sometimes we lie.
I know. It's not that.
It's
listen,
aspirations.
Thank you. It's not a lie.
It's a
unmet aspirations.
lowered expectations.
Yeah. But, I kind of want to lead in to people. So our next episode, we're almost out of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
And as you can see in Esther, they just did a couple passages, shorter ones. And that's what they also do for the rest of the Old Testament. So the books of Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
That's
you
the priests.
Put a double C in something, and I am out to pasture. You know what I'm saying?
I used to like reading passages in church and be like, and from the book of Ecclesiastes.
I know. I'm just going to.
It's a good word. And Malachi. Children of the Court.
Malachi is the best. So the book of Ecclesiastes, Isaiah, Daniel, Micah, and Malachi. So that sounds like a lot, but it looks really thin in the book. But we shouldn't underestimate Elizabeth or the contributors or how much, conversation it sparks. So we may have to split it up in a dozen episodes. We'll see what comes next. We just know it's more Old Testament. And I know for sure we're going to cover the book of Job, which has irritated me and fascinated me.
It is fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh,
poor dude.
Poor Job.
Poor
Job. He's so loyal. Oh, that's a theme too. Being loyal. It's not always what it's cracked up to be.
It's true.
It's not cracked up.
We'll talk about it.
Well, let us know how we're doing and what you're interested in us covering. Check out our show notes for how to reach out through text or voicemail. We would love to hear from you, even if it's from an old episode. You do not have to be current, people.
Right.
Like maybe you listened to episode 1 and you were like, that was whack. I need something.
Yeah.
Bring it up.
Bring it on.
Dude, we're
It's
ready.
Fine. We're ready.
We were there. We know.
We were there.
Yeah, right? And show notes are pretty much an extended show description. Thought I'd mention this in case I've been saying show notes this long and people are still like, what are show notes?
Yeah, it's
so
the
when
description.
When you go to the podcast, it's a great description. You do that. Sarah does all that, and she's just she's a fantastic writer. She also has a blog, Hot Boredom, really good, really, really good.
Oh my God, thank you.
Anyway, Substack it. We've got infotainment and more up on TikTok and YouTube's. Join us there if you like awesome stuff. Share this podcast with everyone you see this week. I don't care if you know them. You don't have to know them. Be like, hey, what are you doing? You look bored. I got a podcast for you.
Right.
And you will be rewarded with heavenly feasts of good luck.
Oh.
Shantae.
Shantae. So until then, be a Vashti.
Be a Vashti. Do it. Self-righteousness.